I'm going to start this talk, and this talk, Jonathan Brinley actually proposed it, but we decided to have a few of the editorial committee up here and present. So the three of us volunteered to do that, but really we're presenting on behalf of the whole editorial committee, and we just want to basically tell you what's going on with the journal and what's happening and how people can get involved. So just a brief little history. We only have 20 minutes, and I can talk for about 20 hours if you want, but I don't think people would appreciate that. So basically, as far as I can tell, the idea first came out during a breakout session that Roy Tennant was running on the future of Code4Lib in 2006. And the idea was beaten around, and some people said, I'll do this part, I'll do that part, but no one really took the ball and ran with it until over this past summer when Jonathan Rockkind basically decided to take the ball and run and actually said, all right, we're doing it. And he started a mailing list. He said, let's go, let's do it, let's do it. And someone took the lead and did it. And basically when Roy Tennant was writing a little bit about the Code4Lib journal happened, and this is how things work in this community, right? People think about things. We're great with coming up with ideas and then they kind of sit around for a while, and then eventually we actually, someone just says, all right, forget it. We've been talking about this long enough. Let's just friggin' do it. So that's kind of what happened with the journal. And really, when we had that time where someone just stepped up and said, let's do it, we had our first issue out in about 5 months. So I think we've shown that once we actually put our mind to something, we can really do something and do it really quickly. And we kind of use the agile development philosophy. Don't over-engineer complicated rules and procedures you might never need, and just make it up as you go along. We really follow this make it up as you go along thing really good. One of the things that people ask is why we decided we wanted to do a journal versus some sort of blog. And really a lot of it comes down to credibility, respectability, and actually doing some vetting process on some type of ideas and kind of giving a stamp of approval. Also, I mean, for some of us that come with P&T backgrounds, obviously having a journal is a little bit more prestigious and something that's a little bit, if we just publish stuff to our blog, the P&T committee doesn't really care. So that there's some of that too. But basically a way to share ideas, kind of an outgrowth of this conference. We see people doing a lot of interesting things, and people are always asking, can you write up more about this? Can you do a little bit more and tell us a little bit more about it? And if you're going to do that in your blog, it's it takes time, and you do it. There might not be that incentive, but if you can at least get a little citation mark off, it's a good thing. So we really think the idea of doing a journal has really proven very successful. We've gotten a lot of good submissions, and we'll be talking a little bit more about the submission process. Jodi and Jonathan will be talking a little bit also about this idea of the rules and how we actually, or what rules we have. Do we have rules about how we're doing stuff? So one of the things that we thought was really interesting is we're like, oh, we should get an ISSN, and we all over a mailing list said, oh, what's involved with that? That's scary. Apparently, it's like a one-page form with 12 questions. So go out and get an ISSN for your blog. So that's ours. And a little bit about the journal operations, Jodi?
So I want to tell you who's involved in getting the journal to press, such as it is, what tools we're using, and how we go about choosing, editing, and publishing our articles. We have authors, editors, readers. So the different sorts of everybody on the editorial committee takes on articles from time to time to edit those. We also, each issue, we have a coordinating editor that's rotating. Basically, whoever volunteers or is coerced into volunteering does that. And we have technical editors who take care of the installation, make sure that we actually have a site to publish. We have a public listserv. You're welcome to take a look at it. That's where we try to discuss all of the business of the journal that doesn't involve the articles. And you can also go to journal.code4lib.org to see what it is that we published in December. You've also got that table of contents in front of you. And we'd love to have you involved in any or all of these ways. So in terms of the tools that we use, it depends a little bit on what we get. We've gotten articles in Word, and track changes is useful. We've gotten HTML articles. We've gotten articles in Google Docs. In terms of the publishing, which Jonathan will talk about in a bit, we're using WordPress, and we have private posts, public posts, private pages. We have tools for doing analysis and statistics. As far as the business of the journal, we've got a public listserv, a private listserv, Google Groups pages, a wiki. We chat on IRC sometimes. We've got stuff in WordPress. It's really this Frankenstein concoction of whatever works at the moment. And if you ask us 6 months from now what it is that we're using, I'm sure that we'll have some new things, and some of these things we won't necessarily be using quite as much. Choosing articles is really interesting because we're a committee, and like any committee, we have agreements and disagreements. The mission that we came up with is that we exist to foster community and share information about those interested in the intersection of libraries, technology, and the future. You can tell that that's pretty broad, and among us we have a lot of different senses of what that means. What is the future for libraries? What's the future of technology? And how do we best work together to put something out that's useful to you and to the wider community? So basically what happens is we put out a call for submissions. We get proposals back on our private listserv. The coordinating editor says, okay, we got that, great. And then we vote. And usually in a few weeks we vote just on a proposal to say who likes it, who doesn't like it. There may be discussion about, I'd really like to see this and that if this happens, or, well, that seems to be something that's beyond libraries. Maybe that's really a broader web article. And then there's the editing process, which is really back and forth. You've kind of got the author and the editor going back and forth, and the committee members making their comments throughout. And in addition to communicating with the author and the committee, the article editor is responsible for marking up the article in WordPress for publication. And throughout this process, every article gets voted on at least twice, once in the proposal stage, and then again once we have a final article. So there is really quite a bit of vetting that happens. And next, we'll talk about publishing.
So, as Jodi mentioned, we are using WordPress as the backend basically for this. We're hosted at iBiblio. Thank you to them. And we chose WordPress for a few reasons, mostly just that we wanted a simple system that did what we needed and didn't get in the way, anything beyond that. So we looked at a few others that just looked too complicated and were more than we needed. So this seemed like it would do the job. One of the main considerations we had was just don't make it look like a blog, which is actually very easy to do with WordPress. Templating in there is a pretty simple matter, and you just use the features you want and you leave off all of the bloggy type things that we didn't want. And so that's basically were our main considerations with WordPress, was don't look like a blog, don't get in the way, and just be as helpful as possible to both the readers and also to the editors. We installed really just a few plugins to make it do everything that we wanted it to do. There are the basic things like stopping spam, and then also the FeedSmith plugin to redirect our feeds to FeedBurner that helps us get statistics on who's reading us and all of that. We have a couple of plugins for adding metadata to the articles. Mike Giarlo's UnAPI server plugin is used to provide information about our articles, and then also anything that we reference that isn't already available on the internet for free. We include a coins tag just to support OpenURL link resolver type things. We first installed a plugin called the Coins Quick Tags button, and we quickly discovered that that wasn't allowing us to put in all the information we needed to put in. So we actually just scrapped that and decided to go to this website, generator.ocoins.info, and that lets us put in our information. It gives us the span tag that we need, and we just paste it into the article from there. A couple of plugins to support our workflow. The Role Manager plugin is really just a way of restricting who's able to do what. The only thing we're really using it for right now is to prevent the editors from accidentally publishing something before it's supposed to be published. That's already happened a few times, and actually just last week discovered a bug where it happened again despite this. So this is all definitely a work in progress, but that's attempting to make that work. The FCK editor was just recently installed to replace the default TinyMCE WYSIWYG editor. And the reason we wanted to make this switch is because TinyMCE keeps eating all of the white space in our code, and that's not a good thing. So this new editor doesn't seem to do that, and hopefully will make our lives a little bit easier. And then a few plugins just to control the presentation of it. We have a syntax highlighter, make all of our code samples look pretty with all the colors and whatnot. That has a few problems, namely it doesn't support Perl, but we're hoping to improve that. This one also runs client-side with JavaScript. We want to do something that will run server-side so it can go out to everybody, not just the people that are running JavaScript. And it takes a while to work. So we're looking for an improved plugin. If you happen to have one, let us know. If not, there are some out there that just need to be upgraded to work with the current version of WordPress that hopefully we can do soon. We have another plugin just to customize the category URLs. All of our issues are at a URL like journal.code4lib.org/issues/issue1. And so just this is a simple plugin that makes that happen. It all basically runs in one regular expression. You can see right there. And the other plugin is to customize one of WordPress's template hooks called the author, which is supposed to go and grab the name of the user that entered the article into WordPress. Since the editors are entering those articles, we don't want to be listed as the author for these. And so this goes and grabs a custom field that we put into every article. It's labeled aptly author, and just replaces the editor's name with the actual author's name. We actually ran into a problem after we implemented this with the UnAPI server plugin, and that plugin wasn't using the author hook to get the author's name. It was going straight into the database and pulling it from there. So it was kind of going around our customized plugin here. And so thanks to Mike for upgrading that, and now everything plays happily together. Pass it back to Ed now.
All right, so that just gives a brief little overview of our processes. As you can tell, they're kind of fluid, our processes, on how we're doing things. And as Jodi mentioned, with a committee, everyone has their different views on how different things will go. And but we think it's going along pretty well. So where can you find the journal? We already mentioned it's at the website, journal.code4lib.org. It's also in the directory of open access journals, and it's indexed by EBSCO. So that's pretty exciting that we're doing that. And we've noticed that a lot of people have been blogging about different articles in there, not necessarily commenting on the journal itself. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But certainly we've been seeing mentions of that in blogs and also in speeches. For example, we heard that Barbara Tillett mentioned it at a speech to the LC staff from some people, that they mentioned one of the articles that were in there. So we're pretty happy that we're getting a lot of recognition so quick in the game about our journal, and that's really great. It just shows what this community has done in a short time since, I guess, in the Internet Archive speech we saw 2005 was the first capture of the website. We've really gone pretty far. So we're really happy with the progress of the journal so far. And here's our little Google Analytics. As you can see, on December 17th, when our issue came up, a lot of people were really excited and went and looked at it. And it's kind of evened out after that, which you would expect. We're hoping to see an even larger spike when our next issue comes out. And one of the interesting things from Google Analytics is it tells you how people got to your site. And we're finding a lot of people are going just directly to journal.code4lib.org, so they're hearing about it from somewhere and just going straight to it. And then there's a lot of refer URLs. We haven't really seen much traffic coming from search engines as of yet. And we're assuming that's basically because we only have a few articles from the first issue up there. We're hoping in time that we'll see more people coming about us on the web, which seems to be through search engines. It seems it's just more people in the community that hear about it somewhere or read it about on someone's blog and then go to it. So how to get involved? Read and comment. Obviously, the reason to put out a journal is so people can read your content, your knowledge. That's why people write articles, is so people can read it. So certainly read it. We've been a little disappointed, at least I've been a little disappointed with the number of people commenting on the journal site itself. So we really encourage you to comment on the articles and get some sort of interaction to make this so it isn't like any other journal. I think the content isn't like any other journal. I think we kind of have a niche there, but really we'd like to get a lot more interactivity. So certainly comment on the journal itself. We know people have blogged about it. We've had some issues with trackbacks. At first we didn't have them on. Then we turned them on, but they don't seem to be working. And so there's some issues. So trackbacks aren't working at this point. So if people are blogging about it, it doesn't show up into the journal site. So post comments on there and try to get some interaction and some community. Where the Code4Lib is a community, so try to foster that in the journal as well as at conferences and on IRC. Certainly participate in a public mail-in list where we discuss basically all the business gets discussed there except basically anything to do with an article that someone submits, to keep that a little bit of private. Certainly people are submitting articles that are in the process of being vetted don't necessarily want that information to get out yet because, well, if we don't like the article, well, maybe someone else will. And sometimes we've actually seen some really, really good submissions that just didn't, to the editor's ideas, at least the majority of them, didn't fit the focus or the mission, and we went ahead and suggested that they publish them elsewhere. So some of our submissions that we've actually turned down were great articles, just didn't necessarily try to fit our niche. So we've been trying to do that, fill that niche and take the mission of the journal to heart. Submit a paper. Issue 3 deadline to submit a proposal is March 14th. So submit papers. We've been pretty happy with the number of submissions we've been getting, but we certainly, the more submissions we can get, the maybe a little bit more selective we can be, and a little bit higher quality overall of the articles. So certainly submit papers. If you have an idea, I mean, if you came here and you did a 20-minute presentation, you did all the slides, a little bit more work, you can turn that into an article. So certainly submit an idea. Apply to be an editor. We're not exactly sure how many new editors we want to bring on at this point, so it's kind of fluid depending on the applications. We're really only looking at 1 or 2 right now, but certainly get involved as an editor. And what we really do need is someone to help a little bit with the web and tech administration. So if you're familiar at all with WordPress and customizing it, or you want to learn and you want to become familiar with it, certainly see, that's also in that same call that went out for the editor, but certainly let us know. We can certainly use some more help with the customization end a little bit. Definitely let us know if you're interested in getting involved. And all the editors that are here in the audience, why don't you stand up and let everyone know who you are. All right, we have 90 seconds for any questions. Okay, right over.
What does a good proposal look like?
That depends.
I guess it depends on which editor you look at, but certainly something that really tells A, what you're going to write about, why it's important, why do we care? If you just implement some cool tool, okay, that's nice, but why is this important for other people to know what you did or how you did it? So something that's kind of detailed on what you're going to do and why the community should care. So not necessarily that there's a good tool that you develop, but why do we care and what makes it unique to that? And
I also want to add to that we're especially looking for things to help other people do what you did. So if you can share code with us, or at least just share the process that you went through to help somebody else replicate your efforts, so you're not just doing it and you're done, that you're actually helping the community then.
right, yeah, I think that's a very important point, that we're really looking at something that other people can use and take from and learn from your ability.
Yeah, and you're out of time.